It had been one of those days. You know the kind, when the sky can't decide whether to rain or hold back, when your socks are slightly damp, and your coffee tastes just a little off. Emma Clark, a 27-year-old graphic designer living in a tiny apartment in Brooklyn, was just trying to make it through Monday. She had worked late, again, and left the office just as the drizzle turned into a steady rain. Umbrella half broken, feet aching in soaked sneakers, and backpack heavier than usual, she jogged toward the bus stop, weaving between crowds of commuters who all looked just as worn out as she felt. By the time she squeezed onto the bus, it was jam-packed. The air was thick with humidity and impatience. She was lucky to find one of the last empty seats. Slumping down, she sighed. Finally. But just as she started to catch her breath, she noticed movement near the front. An elderly woman had stepped onto the bus. Petite, hunched over, wrapped in a faded floral scarf, gripping the rail like it was the only thing holding her upright. Her face was weathered but kind, eyes soft and searching. And not a single person moved. No one looked up. Not the teenage boy lost in his game. Not the suited executive scrolling through emails. Not the mother with a toddler sprawled across her lap. They saw her, surely, but somehow didn't see her. Emma hesitated. She was exhausted. Her back hurt. She wanted nothing more than to close her eyes until her stop. But then her mother's voice echoed in her mind, something she'd said 100 times growing up. Always give more than you take. Even when no one thanks you for it. With a quiet breath, Emma stood up. "Ma'am," she said gently, walking over and touching the woman's arm, "please, take my seat." The woman blinked, startled. Then smiled, a soft, grateful smile that said more than words ever could. "Thank you, dear," she whispered, carefully lowering herself into the seat. "Not many do that anymore." Emma smiled back, then moved toward the back of the bus, grabbing a pole to hold onto as the vehicle lurched forward. She didn't expect anything from the moment, no applause, no praise. Just did what felt right. Like her mom had taught her. The rest of the ride passed in a blur. She got off a few blocks from her apartment, walked home under the drizzle, and climbed the steps to her building, soaked, hungry, and ready to collapse into bed. But when she reached her apartment door, she stopped. Something was sitting there. A small package, neatly wrapped in brown paper, tied with a simple white ribbon. No return address. No label. Her name wasn't on it. No one had buzzed her. Confused, she glanced down the hallway, but it was empty. Heart pounding with curiosity, she picked it up and stepped inside. She set the package on the kitchen counter and peeled back the paper. Inside was a wooden box, polished and old, with delicate carvings around the edges. It looked antique. She opened it slowly. Inside lay a velvet cloth, and resting gently on it, a stunning gold brooch in the shape of a magnolia flower. It shimmered under the dim kitchen light, its petals catching the glow like fire. There was a small envelope inside too. Emma's fingers trembled slightly as she opened it. A handwritten note, in graceful cursive, read. To the young woman on the bus. Today, you gave more than your seat. You gave me hope. My mother wore this brooch every Sunday. It was her reminder that beauty still exists, in flowers, in people, in quiet moments of grace. I had lost faith in that beauty, until I saw you do something so simple, so rare. Please accept this as a thank you. You reminded me that kindness lives on, even in a world moving too fast to notice it. A stranger who needed to see someone care. Emma sat down slowly, her hand still holding the brooch. It wasn't about the gift. It wasn't about the note. It was the realization that someone had noticed. That in a world full of noise, full of people rushing from place to place, someone had taken the time to see what she did. To feel it. And to respond in the most human way possible. Tears stung her eyes, not out of sadness, but something deeper. A mixture of awe, humility, and unexpected joy. That day had started like any other. Hard. Tiring. Gray. But one small choice, one selfless moment on a crowded bus, had rippled outward in a way she never could have imagined. She placed the brooch gently back into its box, then picked up her phone and called her mom. "Hey," she said, voice soft. "Emma? Everything okay? I wanted to say thank you. For teaching me to care. For teaching me to see people. Even when the world doesn't." There was a pause. Then her mother's warm voice on the other end, "Sweetheart, that's the best thing you've ever said to me." Emma smiled. Because that day, soaked to the bone and weighed down by life, she had discovered something rare and powerful. Kindness doesn't need to be loud to be life-changing. It just needs to be real. In a world that often feels too rushed, too disconnected, and too distracted, choose kindness. Even when it's unnoticed. Especially when it's unnoticed. Because the smallest act of compassion can echo in ways you'll never expect. Sometimes, it even comes back to your doorstep.